Hey guys, so today we are going to be reading chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 9. So here is chapter 7. The sun had set and the moon was just beginning to rise in the sky when Ma and Ba returned home from the fields. Even though they could smell the steam from the rice cooking, they noticed the house was strangely dark and quiet. Why is Min Lee sitting in the darkness? Ma wondered as they approached the house. Perhaps she is sad about giving up her goldfish, Ba said as he shook his head. Can our fortune be any poorer? Ma sighed. We cannot even feed a goldfish for our daughter. But as Min Lee's parents entered the house and read her note, Ma made a noise like a shrieking cat. I spoke too soon, Ma cried. Our fortune is now the worst, for our only daughter is gone. Quiet, quiet, wife, Ba hushed her. If we move quickly, we can find her and bring her back home. Ba hurriedly took out his cloth sack and gathered blankets and filled an empty bottle with water. She has had already almost half a day to travel ahead, he said. It might take us some time to find her. Ma watched him and then began to pack the cooked rice into a traveling box, but she continued to weep. It's all the stories you told her, Ma sobbed. She believed them and now is looking for fairy tales. Her words cut into Ba like slices from a knife, but, even though his face was pained, he said nothing and continued to pack. His hands trembled as he tied the bag closed, but they were gentle when he put them on Ma's shoulders. Let us go, he said. As they left the house, many of their neighbors poked their heads out their doors. They had heard Ma scream through the thin walls of their closely spaced houses and wanted to know what had happened. When Ma and Ba told them, it seemed as if the whole village poured out from their homes. Never-ending mountain? The old man of the moon? Changing your fortune, the neighbors said. You better go find her or else she will never return. Foolish Min Lee. She is trying to do the impossible. Each villager pointed and nodded toward the direction they had seen Min Lee last. Some had seen her heading home, others toward the rice fields. But finally a small boy was heard. Min Lee left toward Fruitless Mountain, he said. I saw her with her pack. She went that way. So with the villagers waving them goodbye, Ma and Ba walked toward Fruitless Mountain, their dark shadows trailing behind them in the moonlight. But when they reached the mountain, they looked at each other uncertainly. Where did she go from here? Ba wondered, and he lit the lantern in his hand. The soft light seemed to warm the air and soften the growing darkness. Here, Ma cried, pointing to the ground. There are footprints going toward the woods. Maybe they are Min Lee's. Ba looked at the footprints. There was another mark accompanying them, a long, pulling line. Ba pointed at them. But what is that? He wondered. Maybe Min Lee was dragging a walking stick, Ma said. The footprints could be hers. Ba looked again at the footprints. They seemed small and nimble. Perhaps they are, Ba said. Let's follow them. And so they did. Bringing us to chapter 8. Min Lee woke up when the sun was high in the sky and burning with light. Even in the shade of the forest, Min Lee's black head burned hot. As she woke up, she looked at her jug of water. Since she had used some of it for her compass and had drunk some during her night walk, it was only half full. She sipped it and tried not to think about Ma and Ba finding her note. I hope they understand, Min Lee said to herself, shifting the weight of the water jug on her shoulders uncomfortably. Min Lee walked west again. A couple of moments later, she sipped her jug again. She tried to drink sparingly, but even through the leaves of the trees, the yellow sun glared down at her. Soon her empty jug was bouncing against her arm when she heard a faint noise running through the trees. That's water trickling, she said to herself as she turned toward the sound. There's water here somewhere. Sorry, I'm just going to fix this because I'm having to hold it up and it's very annoying. Sorry guys, just one little sec. It was working a minute ago. Okay, fine, never mind. I'll just hold it. Soon her empty jug was bouncing against her arm when she heard a faint noise running through the trees. That's water trickling, she said to herself as she turned toward the sound. There's water here somewhere. Soon she noticed a small stream running with clear, sparkling water. She eagerly bent down to drink and fill her jug, but as soon as Min Lee tasted the water, she spit it out. Salt water, Min Lee exclaimed. This water is salty. As she sat back, Min Lee began to wonder. How is this stream salty? I am far from the ocean. This is very strange. And, unable to contain her curiosity, Min Lee forgot about her thirst and began to follow the stream. The stream widened and deepened, becoming more of a river than a stream. Just as Min Lee began to think that she should return to her journey, she began to hear deep moans that gently shook the earth. "Who's there?" Min Lee shouted. "Help!" a muffled voice whimpered. "Can you help me?" "I'm coming," Min Lee called. She quickly put down her compass on the side of the water and waded in. The water was warm like bath water and as clear as glass. Min Lee could see her feet and all the stones and leaves at the bottom of the stream. As she moved toward the voice, the water rose higher and higher, to her knees and then almost to her neck. "Are you still there?" the voice asked plaintively. "Please help me." "I'm coming," Min Lee called again. She took a deep breath and dove toward the voice. The salt water stung her eyes, so she closed them tightly until she broke through the surface. When she finally opened her eyes, Min Lee almost sank back underwater with shock, because there, in front of her, was a dragon. And Chapter 9. Sorry, very annoying trying to hold the iPad and the book. Underneath the moon shadows of the trees, Ma stumbled with weariness. Ba did not know how long they had been walking. With every step he peered at the ground, the light flickering as the lantern swayed in his hand. The forest was full of shapes and shadows, and only barely could he see the faint footprints on the ground. It was like searching for a wrinkle in a flower petal. As Ma tripped, he steadied her with his arm. "We should rest," Ba said. Ma shook her head and pulled away angrily. "We must keep going. We have to find Min Lee." "But you are tired," Ba said, "and I am too. We can rest, and afterwards we will be able to continue faster." "I am not tired," Ma said fiercely. Her irritation seemed to give her energy. "If you are tired, you can rest, but I will continue to look for our daughter." "We should stay together," Ba said quietly. "If you want to stay with me," Ma said, "then you will have to keep going." Ba sighed and took out another candle for the lantern. The light from the lamp kept away the forest animals, but it could do nothing for Ma's fury. Her resentment seemed to darken with the fading moon. But as they walked, the morning bloomed in the distance. Its light slowly filtered over Ma and Ba through the veil of tree branches, so he could finally blow out the candle in his lantern. He looked at Ma and could see that her bitterness was only sharper in the softening sky. "If Min Lee stopped to rest," Ba said, "we might catch up with her soon." "When we find her," Ma said, "she must know that she is never to do this again. Never!" "Now, wife," Ba said, "Min Lee did not leave to hurt us." "No," Ma said, her words cracking the air around her. "She left to find a fairy tale, never-ending mountain and the old man of the moon, of all the foolish things." "Stories are not foolish," Ba said again in his quiet way. "Says you," Ma said, "because you are the one who filled her with them, making her believe she could change our miserable fortune with an impossible story. Ridiculous!" "Yes," Ba said sadly, "it is impossible, but it is not ridiculous." Ma opened her mouth again, but stopped, for up ahead there was a noise of breaking branches. It was the sound of someone pushing through the forest. Ma and Ba looked at each other. "Min Lee," Ma said. Forgetting their fatigue and frustration, Ma and Ba began to run through the woods. Ma ignored the branches that scratched her, and Ba let his hat fall to the ground as they rushed toward the unseen person. "Min Lee," they called, "Min Lee!" But as they burst upon the figure ahead, they stopped in shock. It was not Min Lee. Instead, Ma and Ba stared open-mouthed at the goldfish man. And that's where we'll stop for today, so see you tomorrow.